the Cloverfield sequel is moving forward or what. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now you instantly got motion sickness just reading.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah. I saw that in the theater. Me and Holly were like, I was like, oh my God, it's fucking everywhere. All right, welcome to This Week in Nerd History, a podcast where we take a look at all the fun, dumb, nerdy stuff from the past, present, and future. I'm Mike. Joining me as always, we got AJ and Sal. How you guys doing?
Good.
We got a special guest today, Dan Sandberg, CEO and creative director over at Atom Switch. Currently working on Rebel Core Awakens, where you can go and request access for a playtest on Steam. So go ahead and check it out. We'll put the link in the description and everything and give a shout out later on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the game Rebel Core?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I appreciate you guys having me. So Rebel Core is a run and gun style action platformer. We've been kind of using the term Mega Man X-like because I feel like a lot of platformers these days have fallen into either like a Metroidvania or like a roguelike, and this is not either of those things. It's very much, you've got your 8 bosses, you beat them in the order you want, you play the levels in the order you want, and the kind of difficulty spike comes from figuring out what the order of completion is that works for you. So like a big thing for me with games is I like hard games, but I don't like games that have to be hard all the time. And I feel like something that Mega Man did that was kind of magical was that there was always one level that you could beat, and maybe that was the only level you could beat. But once you beat it, you had a tool to beat another level. And so I think that's something that is real important to this game and that I want to lean into really hard is that like maybe you're not the best, platformer. Maybe you're not the best at memorizing boss patterns, but like maybe you've got one of these skills, right? And so you find the level that works for you. The upgrade that makes the other level easier now because maybe you can skip some part of the process. You can, counter some difficult boss that you didn't want to learn the pattern for. And so it creates this kind of hybrid environment where the skill is kind of variable to how you want to play. So the general idea is it's a dystopian world. Robots have killed most of humanity. It's left open whether or not all of humanity is dead. And you're the titular Rebel Core, who is a rebel robot who has gone against his makers and has decided to slay them for their remarkable hubris and, I guess, ironic levels of evil that they, do all the things that they thought the humans did. So try to give some story throughout the game. It's a little more story heavy, more like kind of more modern Metroidvanias or like the later Mega Man games where you got a little bit more background, more dialogue. Kind of the main idea is to leverage a lot of my personal interests and personal skill sets since we're a team of 3. Real small, so we have to wear a lot of hats, and so I figure make the game as easy as possible for you to make, and that's, writing and music and action. It's pretty much my main forte. So, yeah, kind of meandered, I think, a little bit out of that, just describing the game bit, but that's kind of the basic summary.
So it sounds like this is like set like 6 or 8 months in the future from now, this dystopian.
The concept was like an 8-year-old design document that I pulled out. And at the time it was novel to think of AI and robotics as like a potential future threat. It was more like the Soylent Green level of fantasy.
Right.
And unfortunately the novelty has reduced significantly as we inch closer toward Skynet awakening.
Oh man, I love the approach to it, like the kind of find the path that kind of works best for you. Part of the thing that like fascinates me about game design, because I have no experience in it whatsoever, so it kind of just like my brain starts to shut down when I start to think about like where do you even start with a game? Like you mentioned, like there's story built in, and like there's clear inspirations like Mega Man X and that sort of thing. So like where do you start? Is it like the story part, or is it like this is a kind of game that I want to play, so let me build a story around that, or is it vice versa?
Yeah, it can go either way depending on the game. In this case, it started very much with the mechanics. I wanted to have that kind of game. It was a game that we haven't had in a long time. We had it got teased a little bit, like Mighty Number 9. It was going to be this modern Mega Man game, and it was kind of a colossal catastrophe. And it's just been something I've just wanted for so long, and everyone's gone so deep in the opposite direction with platformers into these massive, open world Metroidvanias or these massive time sinks with like the roguelikes. And so that was the real starting point. Was I knew I wanted a game that was just going to play that way. And originally the story was pretty shallow. As I was going on with it, I ended up falling back into this. It's kind of silly, but it was a concept album that I was writing, 10 years ago. And it was the same concept, all about this like AI kind of awakens. It's disgusted with what it finds out it is. Somehow that started to merge into the story, and it actually gave it a lot of nice life and grounding. And it kind of, again, unfortunately, not as distant from reality as I would have liked it to be, but at the time, it kind of gave it a nice personality of this this kind of entity that went out and in the original concept, it was basically like it went to join humans. Like it was like, oh man, these masters are terrible. I'm doing horrible things. I need to build a body, join these humans. But the humans, they just see another robot. And so they reject it. And he's like crippled by this notion of, not wanting to be in one place and not being welcome in another place. And it makes him kind of that weird kind of anti-hero. But then the robots kill everyone and, it pretty easily cements his positioning in the matter. But yeah, so really this one started much more with mechanics and then leveraged into the story. And then I kind of created a personality that I really dug into. A lot of games, I think they start with like an IP, that is like very marketable or, maybe a mechanic that people are really attached to. I've definitely done both ways. Previous game that I was working on, Infestation, that was a game that was very much about the story of the world, even though it was a very mechanic-driven multiplayer game. It created a lot of friction in trying to describe the game to players because it was like this big undertaking. So for this game, I really specifically want it to be like a 2-second sell where you see, 2 seconds of gameplay and you know exactly what that game is.
Right.
You look at it and you go, okay, side scroller, shooting guys, shoot them up, easy. I know exactly what that is. I know exactly what I'm going to get out of it. Get some novelty in there so that there's new things, get some comfort in there so that there's some nostalgia. And I think just being able to take a large layer of personality, I think those are all like the most important things for me when I was kind of going through the list of designs that I wanted to make. I think probably the curse of any designer out there is that you've got like gigabytes of folders of design documents and ideas and concepts that you would want to bring to life and never get to. So this one was kind of thumbing through the drives. And I was like, which one checks all the boxes? What's something that I can do with a small team? What's something that I can do most of myself? What's something that, sells itself very clearly? And so, yeah, that was kind of I went through that mental checklist. And then as I was kind of talking to friends, talking to, the developers, talking to publishers and stuff, trying to see what gets a reaction, I felt like this kind of had all the right pieces. So that was kind of what drove my biggest interest in it.
Awesome. You mentioned, working with a small team. That's something that we're familiar with here on this end too. Everybody's got to wear different hats and it's a lot of passion projects and long hours and that kind of thing. Can you talk a bit about the process of like working with a small team and like how much stuff you are handling for this game?
Yeah. So I grew up in AAA, so I'm used to the really big teams. When the first job I had, it was at a studio called Terminal Reality, and I thought that was a huge studio of 40 people. Then later you go on and work on big stuff. I was working on Fortnite for a while. That's thousands of people. So the biggest difference that you always run into is when you're in a big studio, there's always an expert. So there's always someone you can go to. Like I need to do this thing, and maybe it involves some animation, or maybe it involves some VFX or whatever. But there's always an expert you can go to. But when you're on a small team, you're the expert, and so you have to rely on yourself for everything. And so, like in this case, it's me and 2 other people. So I've got Michael DeLuca, who's an engineer, and he's also been helping out, thank God, because stretching into some animation for me is definitely a weak spot for me. And then Grant Gosler, who's doing concept art, and I've known Grant for almost 20 years now. I tend to do everything else, so everything from logo design to music to level design to gameplay, everything that I can is what I'm doing.
Wow.
And it makes for a different environment. You really have a lot more ownership and control, obviously. When you're in a big game studio, you pretty much get your one thing. And so it can be really nice to be the master of that thing, but that's like the only thing. And here you can't be precious about anything because you have to work on everything.
Right.
And so nothing ever gets to have that time where you can do, they always say like a perfect is the enemy of complete, or the enemy of good.
Yeah.
And I think there's no chance for that because it's like, well, I don't have time to be knuckling down on just this character model. I've got to do the character model. I've got to get the animation blueprint set up. I've got to get get some gameplay tied into it. I've got to worry about which animations are breaking. Like kind of tying it all in piece by piece really creates a level of focus that is a lot more distant instead of like right up against your nose. When I was in school, I was in school for illustration, and notoriously kind of was the kind of artist where it's like back damaging because I'm so close to the paper. I'm not one of those like big worldview, everything visually blends kind of artist. I'm more of like a pen and ink, nose to the paper artist. And I think what's really been nice about a small team is it forces you not to think like that, because then you can get. When I was working on weapons for Black Ops 3, that was like 5 weeks for a single gun. Like you are. I haven't spent 5 weeks on a single thing for this game. Everything has gotten like there are elements of the game that come together in a day, and that's how you have to, because you have to get it in, see if you even like it, see if it even works, and then you move forward. So it creates a really different environment. It can be fun, it can be stressful. Sometimes it's really hard when you don't have like an expert to reach to. I used to say when I first started out, whenever we needed help with something really technical, like a version control thing or some kind of engineering thing, I'd say I need an adult. So like usually going to an engineer, I need an adult, help. And there's no adult to go to here.
You're the adult.
Yeah. God damn it. Yeah.
So
That's
there's
the worst
definitely
realization.
big wins and losses, but it's really cool because at the end of the day, we're the ones making all of it, and we can say what we want in. We have the crushing blow of dealing with feedback directly from from players, and the ego death that creates kind of is very freeing and brings you back to reality really quickly. And it's really nice to not spend 12 months in secrecy and then get hit by a shock when people look at it and they take it completely differently than you expected. Here there's no opportunity for that.
Yeah. It's very similar to what we do here. It's, it's a similar thing of just like analysis paralysis. Like you just can't, there's no time for it. Like you just have to and it is very freeing. It's stressful in a way, but it's just like, well, I got to get it done. This is the amount of time I can spend to actually do it. So like, I'm going to put out my best draft of a script or whatever. And then we have to move forward for it. So like, it's going to be as good as it is. And there is something like nice. It's not as like, I don't know, monotonous or like overly thought through or processed or whatever. I mean, like working on like longer term projects where scripts are constantly noodled and things kind of move forward and it just kind of ends up feeling flat or whatever. And so it's like at the end of that project, you're like, all right, it's done or whatever. But like with these, I fuck up all the time with scripts or I'll ruin a joke or whatever. And I'm like, that didn't come out as good as I thought, but like, I got to go again. Here we go again. So it's like, it's fun that way. Where you just like, I don't know, you just keep rolling with it.
And it's really easy to learn from mistakes, and it's really easy to learn from things that are in, but it's real hard to learn from things that are in process.
Yeah. Right.
There's always a way you could save it. There's always a way you could change it when it's in process. But when it's in, there's no way.
Yep.
This is either working or it's not. You get those real decisive feedback, which is, definitely huge.
I have only a very passing familiarity with the video game industry, but I have noticed that there is a trend when it comes to innovative folks like yourselves who start with a big studio like Terminal Reality. I played your Ghostbusters game, much to success and delight, but also that inevitably there's going to be a team that breaks off and makes their own studio to make the games that they've wanted to make and to see if they could really be the developer that they kind of believe they could be. I'm sure that you haven't had any time, given the developer size and the scope of this project, but have you been having fun being in charge and running your own studio now?
It's more fun now than it was previously. So the really short version of my career is that I spent about 8 years working for various studios. Then I spent another couple of years freelanced for quite a while. And then I was last working for Bonfire Studios. And as I was working for them, I was kind of in this rut of everything we did was prototype. It was crazy to be on a team the size that they were for as long as I spent 2 years to not have anything go anywhere. And I was going insane. Yeah. And so at the time, I had a friend who had just left there, and he had joined a studio that was venture capital funded. And I did not know that was a thing. In the games, you think of publishers 99% of the time is the funding source. And so I was talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, it's real. It's complicated, but it's real." I started going, "Okay, well, I should look into this. I've always wanted to have my own studio. I've always been wanting to make my own games, not make other people's games." So I spent about a year planning, plotting, and getting out there, and ended up getting some venture capital for the previous game, Infestation. And then unfortunately, venture capital made a lot of big bets, and they almost all failed. And so they've kind of quickly exited. So what was originally a 10-year plan became a 2-year plan. And the 2-year plan was funded about 60% of what we needed to ship Infestation. And so that was the experience of leadership being not very fun.
Right.
Because, we were originally meant to be like a 15-person team. We never got above 11. We were mainly averaging around 6. We had to kind of hire later than we wanted to. We had to work with fewer heads than we wanted to. Instead of me doing more creative direction exclusively, I was making a lot of the game, Yeah. And so that was the hard experience where things were challenging. Your back's always against the wall on budget. We ended up, not being able to raise more money like many of our peers. And so I kind of took the position of, I don't like the idea of just like letting things dissolve and go away forever. So I said, well, I have to ship. I want to ship this game. We're halfway there. Let's put it in early access, see what happens. I knew it was a very slim chance of success, but I kind of had to go through the process. It's because it had been quite a while since I'd shipped one of my own products. And I really wanted to go through the process on my own and kind of work through it. And, it didn't work because It was a half-complete game that had no marketing budget. But I learned a lot. And then as we kind of shut down and slowly kind of hibernate the company, I had a couple people, Mike and Grant, who stuck with me, and we were looking at projects. And so now this is kind of like the rebirth phase where the pain is no longer structural or like those outside pressures. It's just that now we're self-funding and trying not to go into horrible crippling debt and make a game that can one day be funded. But the landscape of that has also gotten quite complicated because now as venture capital has exited the funding sphere, publishers have decided, well, we've got power again, but we also don't really know how to spend money right now. I talked to some publishers that are literally trying to raise their own money to get things out because they don't have the money to spend, or other publishers that, you see big failures like Anthem, and Concord, stuff like that. And that created this paralysis of, well, maybe marketing is just not possible. And so now it's gone from, I was able to get money to make a game on a concept to then it's like, well, then now you need a playable. And then it's, well, now you need wish lists for that playable. And now it's like, well, now you need users and market validation for that playable. And maybe that will be the goalpost that is the real goalpost, and Lucy will not move the football for Charlie Brown this time. But I've kind of decided that rather than playing that game, I was just going to make game and see if making game happened, because you're not going to get market validation out of nowhere. So you need something playable, right? So that doesn't change. And you need it to be playable enough that it makes sense and it can click with an audience. So I figured we have to kind of hit some kind of demo. And so what's the minimum amount of demo that can sell a game like this? I figured maybe it's about 2 levels. As long as we can get like a good boss fight in, get kind of some of the upgrade process in. It's not as strong as I'd like it to be, but I just don't have the resources and the time to really go significantly further than that. But yeah, it created a really interesting environment where all the things you think you stress about are no longer the things that are really relevant. The leadership stress and the ownership stress. I guess I'm probably egotistical enough that was never my biggest concern. There was a big stress in managing people. I've been like leads and stuff before. I've been in charge of people before, but to be the end point of all decisions, responsibility, I think was very interesting. And I think especially I had the personality of, if it could be my fault, I made it my fault. And that was a big learning point of letting other people's failures be their own failures too.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of learn all over the place on all that leadership and ownership, because like I said, I'd freelanced for a long time. So I was pretty used to being my own boss. There's a point, people used to joke way pre-pandemic and all, well, how do you get any work done when you're a freelancer if no one's over your shoulder? It always seems so silly to me because the answer is like, well, yeah, I just don't get paid if I don't do this. So
It's simple.
It's pretty straightforward. But now it's like we're, running on a no budget. It's like, well, how do you get work done? It's like, well, because if I don't, there's no game. And if there's no game, I got to go right to getting an adult job again and working for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it works for sure.
It's a pretty loaded gun behind the back of the head. You can't just,
Yeah, I wanted to just go ahead and share some of the... So I love anything that's like concept art, viz dev stuff. So can you talk us through what we're kind of looking at here?
Yeah. So this is the early progress on the player character, where we knew we didn't want to make a Mega Man. We didn't want it to be cute. We wanted it to feel like kind of like gross and robotic and not human. And so it originally started out in this kind of funny, almost cartoonish kind of like robot face. And it kind of slowly evolved. Me and Grant, we were just throwing concepts back and forth at each other. And I draw something, he draws something, I draw on it, he draw on it. And we kind of slowly evolved it into this character that we kind of wanted it to be like in his mind, he built his own body to be kind of his version of what a biped is. He wasn't specifically trying to emulate humans, but he was like appreciating the form of humans. I still think that we could push this further. I'm not a very good character artist. So the taking it 3D didn't get to go as far as I'd like to, but I do like the notion of it being a lot less warm and fuzzy. He's like more of a results driven design. And it was something that he just thought just enabled his being to be what he thought. He didn't have, he liked the scarf is supposed to be kind of his tie into humanity, where it's like a banner from the rebel outpost of dead rebels that peeks up with them. But overall, I didn't want him to have like a really humanizing element. I really liked that he was just like a thing that was just against what was happening.
Right. That's really
so
cool. Yeah, the first one looks a little bit, reminds me of the Fugitoid from Ninja Turtles. And I was like, oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the short circuit guy comes up a lot of things.
Yeah, Johnny Five. Yeah, big
Johnny
time.
Five, yeah. Sure. Yeah, we slowly tried to move like forward away from that and then almost into like a prawn, like from District 9 kind of.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
So it's been floating around all over the place with that. But yeah, I think my biggest concern is I didn't want him to be too Mega Man-y, and I didn't want him to get too Terminator-like.
Huh?
So, but it also has to still be pretty obviously robotic. I didn't want to go with flesh or like anything soft texture. So it was kind of a strange thing. I still think I'd like to push it a little further on the forums though, make it a little more iconic. But it is one of those like when you don't want to go cartoon, it does kind of give you a different set of options.
Absolutely.
Is when you're saying like, you still want to try to push it, like at this stage in the process, is that a possibility or is it like sort of like, can you go back to character design adjustments or is it like?
Yeah, because of the way we've built the game, a lot of the systems are placeholder at best. And so they're very functional, but they'd be very low friction to replace.
Gotcha.
So a big goal with getting publishing money for finishing the game would be able to spend some outsourced budget on getting like a proper character artist to sit down, being able to take another concept pass on it, put not a ton of time, maybe put another week into just really trimming it up.
These landscapes are incredible, man. That's
Thank
awesome stuff. You need, I love getting these kinds of, like Mike probably has said it already. If not, certainly it's his thought and I'm stealing it, but I love the like books that are full of concept art and stuff like that, and like just the like that fleshes out the world that I'm exploring, and sometimes I like that more than the actual product. In some cases,
I've worked on a lot of games where my favorite things are the concept art that never got it in, that are just those tragic, beautiful things. And I should say also my wife actually contributed quite a bit to some of these early concepts.
Really?
She's also an illustrator,
awesome.
So it was really fun to be able to pull her in.
This is another part that I just love, is just seeing like, all right, let's plan out where how the actual level works, and like where this is where my brain just kind of stops, where I'm just like, I don't know, like, you have like, where do you even start? Like there's certain things that you want to try to accomplish in the level, or like, levels of difficulty as it progresses, or that kind of thing. Like where do you even start with this sort of stuff?
It's a remarkably nonlinear process. When I started with this, I was kind of just figuring out what it could even look like in Unreal to try and come to those 2D looks and what would be. And I was just making different shapes, going for different environment looks, trying to see what would look similar, what would work against, it's a very high contrast and very saturated look. And so out of the gate, some stuff just doesn't visually work at all. And so that was the first step, was the really broad strokes of what actually looks good in 3D, not just in 2D. And then that let me kind of start mocking out some kind of like, what would a level be like if I didn't have to worry about the gameplay, but was just kind of like making a set to go through. And so that was the second step. And so that was me kind of kit bashing some really rough 3D shapes, kind of throwing it in with some flat color, kind of some basic lighting. And then that led me talk to Grant again, and he would go and take screenshots and paint over. And we'd kind of figure out structural issues, or we'd figure out kind of tripping points in design and kind of visual flow. And then I'd go back in and make some little bit more detailed work. And we kind of did that back and forth. Now, this is like a level that was coming in after we'd gotten a level mostly done. And so the first thought was, okay, now we've got this idea of how a level can, like how long does it have to be long enough? How much verticality and horizontal movement, starts to feel good. How can we start bringing in like specific elements? So this was exploring like hazards. And so like a big part of the game is that when you beat a level and you beat the boss at the end of that level, it can have ramifications for other levels. It was something that Mega Man X1 did really well and then just never did again in the series. And I've like seen almost very few other games try it. But it was a notion of like, in Mega Man X1, if you beat Storm Eagle, it's like in canon, the airship that he's on crashes into the power plant for Spark Mandrill. And so all the power is out in Spark Mandrill's level. And so little things like that, that like ripple effect were something I really wanted. And so this was some exploration of like, what are things that could change on a very simple level? So you're going through and you'd beaten the guy that is the boss of the reactor, the nuclear power plant, and so now they're going to be drawing power from a less stable source from the grid, from this other level. And so what are systems going to do differently because of that? Instead of them just like turning off, maybe they could become sparking wildly. They become violent. They become unpredictable. And maybe before it was challenging because there was only one path you could go and it has some tough enemies. And now there's a different path that it's not as combat hard, but it's a little more platforming hard. You're doing timing, dodging lightning. And so this was a lot of exploration of like, where are some places that we can stick in some very fun, but also like environmentally reasonable effects for this? Because there's like the really big obvious stuff like, oh, wow, when you beat Chill Penguin, the lava freezes and Flame Man. That's a big systemic change. But this is like, maybe a security area is shut down. Maybe what was a simple platform before is now, over a big grinding pit because the cover, gave way. And so this was a lot of that's very specific feature exploration.
How do you program that? That was like one of the things that I wrote down that was like, okay, you can beat the levels and the bosses in any order. like, what does that do for story? But then looking at like your website where it says like, beating one person will have a trickle down effect for your other characters, like that sounds really hard to program.
We've got it a lot easier than at least they had it on the Super Nintendo. That's for sure. I think with Unreal, we can do a lot with layering, where a lot of the levels built in different layers, and so you'll have your kind of foundational background layer. You'll have like the core platforming layer, and then I can layer out different areas that have their own specific meshes. So maybe they'll have the off state or the deactivated state of certain things. They might have the on fire version or the like iced out version, and it's really a matter of using like a nice system of hooks that they can check against the save file. They can see, like the matrix of what is beaten, what is not beaten. And it's just a flow chart basically from there of where it trickles down into that has this effect. So this level has this turned off. That has this effect. So this level has this turned on. So you're just changing the states of a lot of things. And I tried, we obviously haven't gotten super far into it with only an intro level and a single main level, but the basic concept is pretty straightforward. And thankfully that is one of the things, Unreal's a big heavy hammer. And it's real hard to do kind of specific detail work with it that isn't something the engine was already built to do. But what it does do really well is let you take these big systems and to really just hammer them. And so, yeah, it's a fun thing because I think modern gaming has a lot of conveniences that classic gaming did not have. You think of like a really silly but classic example is like NES music, like reverb and echo and stuff wasn't like a thing that the sound processor was doing. It was literally like duplication of notes. And just staggering the way that they come out and trying to stagger the instruments so that you could have one for a half second to like interpolate, and like that level of finesse was required for so many things then. And you had such high, like a scrutiny of memory. You had great limitations on everything. And now we've got, this is where games have become, 100 gigabytes or more. But at the same time, it gives us a lot of freedom. And it means that I can come in with like some pretty big layering and really just turn things on and off. And it's all because it's all dynamic lighting, we don't have to worry about like pre-baking a lot of set pieces so you can change them. With Infestation, the previous game, it was completely procedurally generated at runtime. And it was, even though the performance of Unreal 5 is not always spectacular, one of the nice things you get when you spend that money on all that real-time processing is that you can change things real-time, and so there's a lot of stuff that we can do that.
Switching topics a little bit, one of the things that we talk about a lot on the show is like influences or just stuff that we loved as kids and not even really realizing it was an influence until like you take a step back at who you are now as an adult. What kind of stuff was that for you growing up?
Yeah, I think creatively, just in general, it's such a wide net. I grew up in the era of the Batman the Animated Series, Gargoyles, all the kind of classic kid animation, so the dark kid animation stuff, Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, all that. And I know that's always seeped into a lot of my natural creative zone. But with games specifically, it was actually a weirdly direct path. When I was maybe middle school, high school, something like that, a game engine, build engine, which is the engine that Duke Nukem was built on. And there was another game called Blood that was made on that engine. And a couple of my friends, we were kind of just learning about networking, using like a hub, well pre-router days, and kind of directly connecting computers and stuff, and found out you can make your own level content for that game. So one of my friends started getting into it, figuring out how to do stuff, and I got like really jealous. Like, this is amazing. I need to learn how to do this. And so learning how to make levels in that was like this big aha moment of I really want to make games. Because I'd always enjoyed games. I'd always enjoyed drawing. I'd always enjoyed kind of writing and creating things. But that was this moment of like, wait. People can, like, it's not just like some mysterious cloud in outer space that a game teleports out of. There's like tools for this. You can learn them. People write incredible tutorials, even for that. Like when the internet was so, basic. I remember killing how many trees, printing out all these instructions on how to write scripting and stuff in there. And so that for me was the really big one. And then StarCraft, when that came out, I started making levels for that. I don't play StarCraft remotely correctly. I just like to build a huge base and turtle up and then just destroy things. Like, I don't do any of the micro. Like when MOBAs came out, I was like, this is the exact opposite of how I play StarCraft. This is the worst for me. But because of that, there wasn't a lot of content. So I was like, well, I'll just make my own. How hard can it be? And thanks to the wonderful developers of StarCraft, they made a great level editor. And so I was making levels for that. And I was like, okay, this is a thing that I really enjoy. And then Half-Life 1 came out, and mod scene for that was like really big. And so I started getting into modding for that. And by then, it's getting into college. And I was in illustration. And I was like, this is great, but it'd be a lot cooler if this could become a video game job. And as I was graduating, I had a friend that got a job at Terminal Reality, and he was like, the same friend, oddly enough, that turned me on to the VC thing. And I was like, wait, this is these are real jobs? Like, you don't have to like live in Japan or, work for Nintendo or Sega? And he's like, yeah. And so graduated college, dumped my entire portfolio out, taught myself 3D, made a whole new portfolio over the summer, magically got hired there, and just became a game developer. Very strange, but somewhat direct route. So my influences are very specific from the game background, and then just very general from everything else, because I'm a big movie show fan. Everything. I mean, anything, especially dystopian or sci-fi or post-apocalyptic. You could just throw a stone and probably hit something that I've obsessed over. I think like for this game in particular, it's been really fun to pull from, like things like thinking about, Future and Terminator, the Skynet, does that like the post-apocalyptic side of that, or like looking at the Matrix and the real world portion of that. I think those were all really big references on this particularly, because it was such a like greasy future. It was like nothing was beautiful, it wasn't like Fallout where everything's destroyed. It was just like everything just sucks. And so it's like you're scraping together and you're making things work. And I've always loved that. So I think that's been a big influence on me too.
We had a prompt, AJ, do you happen to remember what
if you could live in any video game, what would it be?
Is survivability a concern, or would it be assumed that I would have the survivability capacity of like the people that normally are in that video game?
I don't know.
It's like if you put me in Minecraft, it'd be a pretty dangerous world without being a Minecraft person,
Right. I guess in that case, you'd have to be, you are a Minecraft version of yourself, because you'd have to be able to craft.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be a real shame to not have have falling damage and not being able to like mix materials. That's a tough question. I feel like all the games that I like best have horrible, horrible worlds to live in.
Yeah.
They are all truly unwelcoming and I've been playing Poketopia, and I thought that's a fun dystopia. It's like a colorful, cute dystopia. So I'll go maybe with that one. Then I can enjoy childhood Pokemon reliving. And so that'll be my cop-out answer.
Well, thanks, Dan. This was I love learning all about this stuff. It's like I was saying before. It's a world that I'm not familiar with, just like the creative process and like the technical stuff behind it. But the game looks awesome. We'll put our link in the description and let us know. Like, I'd love to like keep in touch, like keep updates of like how things are going, and like any kind of signal boost we can give to help get people to play the play test, to check it out on Steam. What is the best foot forward there? Because on your website it says to wishlist it on Steam. Is that the thing that will help the most?
Yeah, I mean, eyeballs are huge. So just talking about it, being able to talk about it at all is awesome. Visibility is a really big challenge right now for games. So wishlisting is always great. It's like a nice concrete metric. But the best thing for at least for me personally, I think, is signing up for the playtest and playing it, and then like telling me everything you hate and everything you love, and like the feedback, getting good feedback, because feedback is so important but also dangerous. You need a wide net to get a good aggregate, because it's really easy to hear one piece of feedback a couple times and it kind of sounds logical, but maybe it wasn't that you shoot too fast that was the problem. Maybe they just have too much health, or maybe it wasn't that this level is too hard because it's like got a lot of enemies. It just needs more checkpoints, and so like having a wide aggregate of feedback is like insanely valuable, and something you don't get when you're a little indie studio that you do get when you can just have paid QA, running through the game all the time. So the easy is definitely discoverability. So mentioning it, wishlisting it, that's a metric, that's awesome. But playing it and giving feedback and getting other people to play and give feedback is like beautiful. When we first released the availability on Steam, it was closed access, and it was like, you have to like beg people to download it and play it. And then like you open it to just public sign up, and all of a sudden magically, we went from like 10 people to like 400 people, And so being able to get more visibility on that to get more people in is like humongous, because then we can really, iron out like stupid bugs, and then like smart bugs, and then like just finesse and balancing and gameplay. And that would be like hugely valuable. Awesome. But no, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's always fun. My wife might sometimes joke that I like the sound of my own voice, but I do like to talk about the game. Obviously, it's fun to go on any kind of tangent related to games and media. And so I really appreciate you guys having me. It was a great time. And I would love to keep you posted.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you guys see the Moana trailer?
No. Should we laugh at it?
Yes. Yeah. Let me cue it up. I actually didn't even have it.
This is the live action Moana?
Yeah.
Beyond our reef, an evil darkness has found us.
You're welcome.
What's the point?
What are we doing?
Like,
What are we doing?
you know how, like, whenever you see an interview with, like, the Pixar people from back in the day where they were like, we made this look like real grass. Or, like, we worked on all these textures to make it as close to real as possible. Like, we got all these, oceanic movements and Finding Nemo and all this stuff. Or are we just trying to meet in the middle somewhere where it's like, it's live action? There's probably more CG in this movie than there is in the fully CG Moana movie that it came from that looks better and is more fun.
I agree exactly.
And-
like,
What's the point of doing that? Like, it's all CG, but just crappier because it's trying to look real.
right. But even like I forget all the lava monster at the end. Like that looks just like the animated one. Like, all right, so what are we doing? What is this?
Yeah. I don't know. It's, is this like a Taylor Swift re-recording her album kind of thing where it's like, we don't want to pay the people who made Moana before, so we're going to make our own Moana? Like, I don't...
You know what I was thinking? I would rather see than these like the live action full movies is like those TV, like the Peter Pan
Oh
ones.
my
like
God,
they're
yes,
like
stage production
ones. Like I would rather see that. Like I know the
A stage
limitations of
Moana.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
with
be
like
creative in
people
those
dressed in
limitations.
blue being waves.
Right.
Like,
I would much
that would
rather
be-
see that.
Yeah, that would require coordination and choreography.
There's so many. I don't know. AJ, what do you think?
Yeah, you love The Rock. Tell us more.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna see it because I have to.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's you have to if your kids are gonna.
I
go
have
nuts
to.
for
I
it,
mean,
if
Mike
it
and I have to go
helps.
see it because we see every new Disney release every
Right.
like, Sunday. But like,
Yeah.
we meet up somewhere, in Delaware, and yeah, he got to go further.
Which I've been meaning to talk. We'll talk about it offline.
Yeah,
So,
we'll talk about it
We
later.
gotta coordinate. I mean, I don't know. When I saw The Rock in the wig and stuff, like none of it. I'm just like, all right, that's The Rock, and he looks weird now with hair,
In the wig.
and like, it just sort of reminds me of
His
my own
hair,
mortality.
his
I'm like,
hair
he's
doesn't look
older.
the way I want it to look,
Yeah, it should be
which is a weird thing
fuller.
to
It should be
say.
like bigger.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
he just looks like he looks sick.
You mean like cool, right? He looks
Yeah,
sick.
like
sick.
He
no.
looks sick.
I wish I did. People are calling him like Weird Al.
Oh,
He's the Weird Al.
He looks like Weird Al.
Moana.
yeah.
Weird Al also talked about it. He said we've told all the casting agents that the Weird Al biopic sequel is currently on hold, but they keep sending in headshots. It's just a picture. It's just a picture from the trailer, and I'm like, yeah.
I didn't put that together, but then now I
guess
see
I'm bothered by the trailer because it's like it's trying to build a story and seem epic, but like we all know the story. Like we know the story.
Right,
but I know what happens.
We
That's
know
why
what's
it's just
happening.
Right, it's like less than a decade ago. It's
Yeah.
like,
We don't need to know. Like we don't need to be. I don't know. I don't need to be teased on what
yeah,
the thing is. The first like whole minute of the trailer would make it seem like the story's about the grandma because it's just her.
There's so much grandma in this trailer.
There's so
Yeah.
much grandma, and grandma is like a blip in the movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
She dies pretty early
Mm-hmm.
on.
Whoa, spoilers. I thought she was just taking a nap.
spoiler alert. She's
And
just taking a long nap.
Yeah.
And then like even stuff with like the pig and the chicken and the
Yeah.
little coconut dudes, like they just look like the animated thing.
Right.
So I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know, what am I?
The
what is-
pig looks
anybody
like an
doing?
animated pig. It doesn't look like
Right.
a
Yeah.
real pig.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. The teaser might have just been like, you saw it. Like, just Bob Iger just looking at you dead in
Yeah.
the camera going like, you saw it. Now see it again.
See it again. Get
Pay
in
to
there.
See it
Go.
again.
Do it.
Take your kids.
Take your kids. Take all the kids. Take your neighbor's kids. Just go. Or
It is going to be.
or-
It's
or-
going to be us and the neighbors,
Right?
seeing it together, probably. Yeah.
Or send all your money to this address on a 3x5 card. Like, do it or I'll increase the subscription fee for Disney Plus. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that anyway.
I'll do it anyway. Yeah. We got to cover the cost of whatever the popcorn bucket's going to be for this movie.
Yeah, right? What'll it be? Probably whatever the hell it was when Moana came out.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah.
But uglier. Because that's the other thing. It's like, ooh, look, I've never been wherever the hell Milano's set, but I have been to like Aruba and like Capri, and it like in the CG movie, yeah, it looks like that. It looks pretty. The water looks like it's glowing. It's awesome. How did they make it look bad?
The volume can only do so much.
Dull. I'm like,
yeah.
Like, just turn that saturation down way down. Because the last thing we want people to believe in is magic, and like, I don't know.
Yeah,
just gross.
Aside from just like the gross feeling of it, and it's less than a decade old, and I don't know what the look is that they're going for. It's just this weird mishmash of live action and whatever. Like, I don't know what you would do to make it look cool. Like, I don't know what direction you want to go, because I don't even like the Lion King ones. Well, the second one they pushed a little bit more cartoony, but like, I don't want a big realistic crab monster guy that like glows in the dark and stuff. Or looks all bioluminescent, like cool.
No, just like, what was it? Is it? I think we've talked about this maybe in our earliest episodes about All Dogs Go to Heaven and the blam, the big lipped alligator moment.
Oh yeah,
It's a phenomenon in animation where like you're watching a movie, everything's trucking along fine, and then a big lipped alligator shows up and just derails the movie for a hot second. I love that that's like a thing, and I can't think off the top of my head of like 10 examples of a blam, but like, I don't know. I promise you that if Disney owned All Dogs Go to Heaven, we would have had a live action remake of it already, and there would have been a frightening looking alligator in it. Like, because that's the thing. I don't want a giant, horrible crab monster that looks like it really exists with poor saturation and bad contrast. But I also don't want to see anything else from animation. Like, I don't want to see dogs talking. Like we saw the pinnacle of dogs in film with Air Bud. We don't need them to talk. Or Homeward Bound if you want to cry.
Yep.
I mean, Air Bud if you want to cry too. There's a couple of.
Depends on which Air Bud.
Yeah, Air Bud too. You're gonna cry at some point.
All right, thanks again to Dan for joining. We'll put Rebel Core a link to Rebel Core in the description. Go check it out. Go check out the playtest. It helps them out a ton, and it's an awesome looking game. Seems like it's super fun. So be a part, support some indie artists, indie studios. You guys got anything you want to plug?
Not yet. Not yet. Almost soon, I promise. I have to. I haven't gotten the duckies in the rows.
What are we building up to? Is it a date thing that like are you?
No, no. I just am really bad at the mouth words, so I have to like make a plan to like say what I want to say so that it doesn't sound stupid.
Are we building it up too much? Should we keep building it?
Yeah, we should probably cut it.
Tune in next week, guys.
Because she's going to say it.
I don't know. We'll see. Do I feel like
you got to do like
the
Spider-Man like teaser approach that they did like a couple days before, where it's just like one word each episode. Yeah. For like 16 months. Out of order.
Apropos of that, as a really quick, terrible story from the comic book world, Marvel made, this is a couple of years ago, Marvel made an announcement about a comic. Actually, there was no context for it, but Marvel released a teaser on social media where it was just the number 4 in webs, like made out of webs, and just dropped it on social media, just no context, just blink. And everyone was like losing their minds. Like, oh my God. And it's from officially Marvel. They're like, are they making a Spider-Man 4? Like, are they going to did Raimi get permission to make a Spider-Man 4? Are they making a comic book adaptation of Spider-Man 4? Like, what do we get? Is it action figure line of Spider-Man? Like, is it concept art? What are we getting?
Yeah.
Next day, 3.
Damn
Oh
it.
no, it's a
And they're like,
countdown.
Yeah.
why would you start with 4? And it's like, because they knew that it would trend. People were like, for a full day, people were like, are they making Spider-Man 4? Get Raimi on the phone. Is he going to, like, does he know anything about this? Get a quote. 2, 1. And the announcement was that J.J. Abrams' son was writing a Spider-Man comic book out of continuity, and it sucked. I was like,
Aw.
what kind of an announcement is that?
That was part of the announcement. It sucks.
Oh, and it sucks. Well, you
And
should
it
have known it
sucks.
sucks because
Surprise!
J.J. Abrams was involved. But like when it came, like
But
they
it's
released a
his
video.
son.
Yeah, well, because and the video was they released a video and it was J.J. Abrams and his son, and he's like, "Hi, my son's gonna write a comic book." That's right, nepotism is still alive and well here in the comic book industry, and so here we go. And his son was, "Take it away, son." Whose name I don't know because the book didn't take off and no one cares.
Oh.
And he went off about something, and then he made like this big crappy anime ripoff comic book that sucks. And they dragged poor Sarah Pacelli in there. She's a great artist, and she had to draw that horrible thing. And it was just like, and it was like a 4-issue miniseries that was like, what if Spider-Man had a son, and his son was a powerful super Spider-Man? Yeah, I was just like, God, get out of here. Nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this. Came out of nowhere. And it was like, hey, you could get Spider-Man 4 from Sam Raimi. Oh, yes! Or J.J. Abrams' son is going to tell a Spider-Man story. Like, they'd be like, hey, kids, what's your favorite theme park? Disney World, yeah! Well, actually, we're going to Knott's Berry Farm. Thought you were going to say Knott's Berry Farm. That's where he didn't say that. Okay, well, anyway,
You're going to
say
say Six Flags.
I was going to make a joke about it being like that cryptic sort of promotional thing is very Bad Robot J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Like calling card. I was going to just make a joke that it was something like that. And like,
That's so
he's
funny.
still tangentially related or directly.
Yeah, no, he was like, make it 4. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like he can't not do it. He has to make some sort of mystery thing to it.
Exactly. There's got to be a mystery box. Which,
That was a big thing.
Remember when that was like
Yeah.
in all the writing guides?
The promotionals too is like there's a website and there's like one word on it and like you have to find where to click somewhere on the screen and it'll take you to another video and whatever.
Right.
And
Lost,
I have no idea what the movie
Cloverfield,
was related to. Yeah.
All of it.
Yep. I saw they're making I guess the Cloverfield sequel is moving forward or what I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now you instantly got motion sickness just reading
Just
Cloverfield.
thinking about it.
Yeah. I saw that in the theater. Me and
Yeah, me
Holly,
too.
I was like, oh my God, it's fucking everywhere.
That's funny. I did not have that kind of reaction, but I also made like a lot of home videos. So like I'm used to that like horrible cinematography.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm at home. People did have problems.
That was like cinematography or whatever aside. That was a fun concept.
Yes.
There's a lot of like cool shit that happened in that movie too.
It wasn't as cool. And I know this sounds like so silly and I'm dating myself, but like the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
How dare you laugh at me, AJ? No, the Blair Witch Project. When the Blair Witch Project came out, like if you didn't know anything about the Blair Witch Project, like if you didn't know anything about it except that like you heard about it because it was all word of mouth and like maybe a website that was like 3 teenagers died, so we're gonna make money off of their dead bodies and show you how they died. And I'm like, that can't be not real. It has to be real.
Has to
the
be
most
real.
American we do is profit off of the death of 3 teenagers.
Yeah.
And and I saw it and I was like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. Is nothing. Is seeing literally nothing.
Yep.
Just watching 3 teenagers lose their minds and kill each other in the woods. And there's a witch or something in there. But like it was it was awesome. And and it was harrowing.
Yeah.
And then the next morning I went to go pick up my friend to take him to work. And he made one of those freaking stick men.
What a dick.
And he hung it like in his foyer. Like he left the door open. I was like, what the hell? The door's open. And I opened it up and there it was. And I was like, God! Like, yeah.
Was he standing in the corner? I would have been standing in the corner.
I know.
Back to you.
Yeah. That would have been amazing.
Just back
that would have
to
really.
you.
But Cloverfield's close second. I was like, this is a pretty solid ass movie. Like I was riveted.
Yeah. There's like that like a couple scenes like that where it's like ground level and like the army's coming in and like firing up and stuff like that. And it's like him just like, oh fuck. And he's like, camera's going back and forth.
Yeah.
But that was really, I was like, that's That was really fucking cool. And like,
Yeah, it was really sick. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
When the girl explodes, I'm like, this is really like, this is scary. And it was dope. It was a pretty fun movie.
Yeah.
Although my friend at the time, we're watching this movie, and bear in mind that we are young as well when we're watching it. But when they get into the helicopter, like these guys go through like hell and back. They get in the helicopter crashes, and then they go, "Come on, we got to get up." My friend goes, "These kids are fucking indestructible."
It's true.
I know. That's like that part for sure. Like the insane things that they're going through for that part. And then for me, I think we talked about this before too. I complain about it a lot for any of the like the handheld footage stuff or whatever. The first thing I'm doing is tossing the camera aside. Unless it's like my phone.
Anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like like holding it and stuff while I'm running.
I gotta record this for posterity.
I'm gonna throw it at the monster and then piss my pants and then
Run away.
Yeah. Yeah, hell no. I might have for a little while, but I would have, like, based on the pictures I took at Disney, I would not have filmed it for very long. I would have been in the moment. Because I was actually, like, going through it. I'm like, I was there for 5-6 days. I have only 3 days worth of pictures. What the hell is this?
what's our assignment for the viewers this week for comments?
Check out
Rebel Core.
Check out the game.
Yeah.
That's our call to action.
Leave. What do you guys think about the game? Go play test it.
Yeah, play test it. Let them know what you think, and then let us know what you thought about what you think.
Yes, and then think about what you said.
You think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about what you think.
Please.
We're not mad. We're just disappointed. Just. All right, take us home, AJ.
All right. We like you. We hope you like us.
Sorry, I was late, you guys.
I'm good.
I feel like a jerk. Mike was like, "You good?" And I'm like, I'm in my kitchen. I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
You're like, "Yeah, great. What?
I did it again." I was just finished. I was eating some string cheese, and I'm like, "That is good." Oh, Mike texted me. What's going
string
on?
cheese. You know how it
Eating
goes.
some string
Eating
cheese.
some string cheese, and I'm like, "Oh, Mike wants to ask." Look, I've got a feeling Mike wants to rap with me about a couple things. Yep.